Welcome, everyone, to the Society of Creation Conference. It's a pleasure to see so many of you, at least virtually, here. This is the second year that we've run our conference online, and we're hoping and praying that next year we can be together physically. I think those things work out well. But both Dr. Heck and I are so thankful for the marvels of technology that allow us to broadcast this out to a wide range of people. I do want to give a shout out to my home university, Concordia University, Wisconsin, Ann Arbor. They have graciously allowed me to use their Zoom facilities to host this webinar. So I'm thankful to them. Concordia University has been good to the Society of Creation. We are the Concordia University System Society of Creation, and we've been greatly supported by the schools of the Concordia University system. So thanks for that. And more importantly, both of us want to thank you. If it weren't for the participants, if it weren't for the attendees, if it weren't for you that are out here, there'd be little reason for us to be here today. We certainly appreciate your support and also your willingness to learn more about the doctrine of creation. Amazingly, this is our 9th annual conference. In just a moment, I'm going to allow Dr. Heck to talk a little bit about the Society of Creation and our origins and things like that. I'll probably steal his thunder, but he and I were just talking the other day that we organized the Society of Creation in 2011. So this is our 10th anniversary. We began our first conference 2 years later in 13, so this is our 9th one. We did everything online last year, and as you know, we're doing things online this year too. Let's see if we can get back to reality next year. Our theme this year is In the Beginning, the Origin of Life. I'll say a little bit more about what our theme is and our presenters and the logistics in just a second. But before I turn things over to Dr. Heck, let me just give you a sketch of sort of the framework that we've been running our conferences. We believe that any idea, what a scientist calls a model of origins, and that's what creation is, an idea or a model of origins, any model has to explain 4 fundamental origin events: the origin of the universe, the origin of life, the origin of diverse life, and the origin of human beings. We've been cycling through these and adding some additional things in our conferences. Last year, we talked about the origin of the universe. This year's conference, the origin of life. And next year, we'll be talking about the origin of diverse life. So we're focusing on the origin of life today at the Society of Creation Conference. So I want to turn things over to my friend and colleague, Dr. Joel Heck, the co-founder and primary mover of the Society of Creation. Take it away, Joel.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be with everybody today and to get started again on our next iteration of creation conferences. Yeah, I have served as a conference registrar. Most of you know this, but I just want to mention, I sent out an email to many of those that were registered that if you know of somebody else that is signed up and did not get the link, I've had several people write to me and say they didn't get the link, and so I sent them the link. But I know last year I left off at least one person, and this year I was even more careful, and yet some people somehow fallen through the cracks. So if you know of somebody else that's planning to be a part of this day and did not receive the link and lets you know about it, or you're able to check with some friends. I know we have a good number of people from a creation organization in the state of Connecticut. I saw a bunch of names come in with a Connecticut address, so I'm grateful to that society for being a part of this. But you may know of some other people that were planning to attend and did not get the link for some reason. I mean, I went through my spreadsheet line by line and double checked whom I wrote to, and ended up adding about 7 names. So I'm trying my best to make sure that nobody gets left out. But I did get 2 or 3 emails even this morning, and then was able to send out the link once more. So happy to do that. But in case somebody does not end up being able to participate, and I know a couple of our registrants are in that category and have asked, are these sessions being recorded? Yes, they are being recorded. And so within a couple of weeks, I'm guessing the recordings will be able to be uploaded on the Society of Creation's website. You see our web address right there in front of you. So they will be available in retrospect at some point in the not too distant future. And I do want you and everybody else to know that the recordings will be posted on our website in the conferences link. Correct, Gary? Okay, good. The conferences link. So I also want to thank all of you who donated. I was real serious about saying we're not requiring this. This is a free conference. I did invite people to make a $10 donation if they so chose, and wasn't going to pressure anybody. And I'm pretty sure we have our conference expenses covered with the people that did provide something. So if you did not, I don't feel the least bit concerned about that. Our registration for this conference is 169. So I'm really pleased with that. I know last year was a huge number, our largest ever, but this is our second highest ever attendance, and says something about the value of technology and the Zoom feature to it. And it makes it possible for us to have people attending from other countries besides the United States where this is being produced. So in addition to the US, we have 7 other countries. India, in the last day or two, I've gotten 5 registrations from the country of India, Kerala State in South India. I have several from the UK, registrations from Luxembourg, Canada, New Zealand, Northern Ireland, and Norway. So these are people who are either from English-speaking countries or in a country like India, where English is one of the most frequently spoken languages, in addition to many others, of course. But we're pleased to have people from all around the world in attendance today. And I do want to mention, just in case you're concerned, because the registration form requires an address and a zip code or postal code, an email and a phone number. I don't share that information with anyone, so you need not worry about private information coming to you about getting email solicitations. You won't be hearing anybody soliciting you for donations or some additional funding for the Society of Creation. We are in good financial condition. I see a message from with a phone number on, apparently, or at least that maybe that's a code for getting into the meeting. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll leave that to Dr. Locklair to deal with. At any rate, as Dr. Locklair said, we've been together as a society since 2011. We've been doing creation conferences since 2013. And this is our second online conference. Next year, we expect to have an in-person conference, and also to include Zoom as an option, because we're not going to expect people from India and New Zealand to fly to the States, to Mequon, Wisconsin, southeastern part of the state of Wisconsin, where our conference will be held. At any rate, that's my word of welcome, and I'm ready to turn it back over to Dr. Locklair with God's blessings on our time together. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Heck. One thing that Dr. Heck and I both are interested and concerned about is ensuring that when it comes to the idea of creation, there are really no misconceptions. One of the reasons that we've founded the Society of Creation, one of the reasons that we've put on these conferences is to really help folks understand what creation is all about, because it's easy to get different ideas. Friends of mine, Zeb and Martha, their little girl came home from Sunday school. And Zeb and Martha asked, "What'd you learn about in Sunday school today, dear?" And she says, "Oh, it was great. We learned all about the creation." So Zeb says, "Well, wonderful. Why don't you tell me what happened?" "Well, sure. You see," Zeb and Martha's little girl says, "first, God made a man. And then he took a long look at Adam and he said, you know, I can do better than that. So he made a woman." I know I have to pause a long time because there's riotous laughter out there, even though I can't hear it. Thank you. Here's our schedule for today. We're in the midst of opening greetings. We're going to be sticking to this schedule. So if you're going to drop out for a little bit and then just want to come back, for example, you want to skip me, then come back at 10:45. We will not be starting early. We'll stick to this schedule. You can see the amount of time that's allotted. And I am sorry to say that lunch is on your own. You'll provide your own lunch and then come back. So 4 major presentations. I'll be presenting at 9:30. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Kevin Anderson, at 10:45, and then again at 1:30. And then the grand finale with Dr. Heck at 2:45. Wrap up and close at 4 p.m. And yes, all these times are Central Daylight Time. I will introduce each presenter when it's their time, and they will likely want to say a little more about themselves also when they're actually here. But I'm always excited about the presenters that we have. I think we have some world-class people here. I'm thankful that I consider both of our other presenters, Dr. Heck and Dr. Anderson, personal friends and colleagues. And if you've heard either one of them before, you know what a great job they do. Just in case you haven't met or seen Dr. Anderson before, yes, Dr. Kevin Anderson is a scientist. Okay, no, this is not really him. But I picked Gene Wilder in Young Frankenstein to represent Dr. Anderson because if you know the movie Young Frankenstein, or the Frankenstein book and movie in general, you know it's trying to create life from lifelessness. Well, Dr. Anderson is going to talk to us about the impossibility of that and the possibility of an intelligent God creating life. Our other primary speaker is Dr. Joel Heck. Many of you know that Dr. Heck is an expert on C.S. Lewis, and he'll be talking about C.S. Lewis today. It'd be too easy to compare Dr. Heck to Lewis, so instead I'll just compare him to G.K. Chesterton. If you know about the life and times of Chesterton, Chesterton was a massive intellect and a great wit. And I see Dr. Heck as both of those things. Our third presenter, unfortunately, is me. But I do look good in my sweater and cowboy hat there. Okay, if you know me, I do have a shtick with Chuck Norris. If you don't know about the Chuck Norris thing, it's okay. When it comes up, you can just laugh anyway. For the presentations, each presenter will be presenting for about 50 to 60 minutes, and then we hope to leave a little bit of time for questions in between there. During the presentation, I've told the other 2 presenters that I will break in at about the 50 to 55 minute mark and just utter the words 50 minutes or 55 minutes so they know where they're at. We hope to leave some time for Q&A from the audience, and we will be looking through that, and we may or may not have to cut that off before the next presentation. As Dr. Heck already mentioned, if the technology works, we are recording things, and those will be available after the fact. One word of caution. I live out in the country, and I have what I lovingly call tin can internet. On the best of days, my internet service provider claims I have a 10 megabit per second download and much less than that upload. I probably should have gone on to campus today to do it, but I didn't. So hopefully things will work out well. We'll see. There are, for those of you that are not familiar with Zoom, there are two different ways that it is possible to interact with us. And depending upon how your Zoom interface looks, it may look like this, it may look a little different. Oops, you can't see the one behind it, but I think that's more of a presenter's panel anyway. Somewhere on the Zoom screen, you should see both a Q&A tab or link and a chat link. Many of you have already found chat, but just so we can practice, if you don't mind, and you don't have to, but I'd like you to select chat now, and I'd like you to enter in chat where you are joining us from. Where are you right now? Whether that's just a state or a city and state, or if you're outside of the United States, if you want to list that country. So if you don't mind, would you jump into the chat and would you just list where you're connecting from today? Wow. A lot of great and interesting places. While you're doing that, I should mention that last weekend I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was interacting with our other presenter, Dr. Anderson. I'm in Mequon, well, actually today I'm at home in Fredonia, Wisconsin. Dr. Heck is in Austin, Texas, and Dr. Anderson will be joining us from Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, C.S. Lewis homeland, cool. I dislike the cold, which is a funny thing for somebody living in Wisconsin. So I was excited to go to Phoenix because I thought it'd be warm. Well, the first day it was 99, but then every other day it was 80. It was hotter in Wisconsin than in Phoenix. Thank you so much, everybody. Feel free to let us know where you are connecting from. And can I ask you, for the 60 or so attendees that we have right now, would you mind also in the chat, would you tell me, is this your first conference or are you a returning veteran? And if you know how many conferences you've been at, you can say that too. I'm looking at the names of the list and I see some people that have been here all the time. So if you don't mind, again, in chat, and it's not graded, you don't have to. Would you tell me, is this your first time at a Society of Creation conference, or are you a returning veteran? We thank all of you, whether you're a returning veteran or whether this is your first time. And I see many of each, and a lot of second time conferences too. When it comes to, and continue to put those in if you don't mind, when it comes to the chat and Q&A, we'll use the chat for general kinds of things, or if you have a comment that you want to make. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to keep up with the chat, and I won't keep up with the chat, especially when I am presenting. But I'll try to take a look at that while the others are presenting. If there's another type of concern, feel free to use the chat. If you have a question specifically about the presentation, when the presentations begin and something comes up, put that in that Q&A. It works a little different. You'll be able to formulate it there and type it all in. And then you'll notice that after you get that in, you'll have to send it there. And you can do that at any time. We will attempt to answer as many of those as we possibly can after the presentation. We'll just see how time goes. So if you have a question about the presentation, you use the Q&A for that. Other types of questions or general things, put those in the chat. We'll try to keep up with those. We'll see how well we do with that. Thank you all so much. I appreciate that. Two final things from me as far as an introduction is concerned. When it comes to science, and predominantly what we're discussing here when it comes to creation and other models of origins is science. Are you aware, like in almost everything else, there is false and true science? Yeah, there is false science. Why? Because science is done by scientists, and scientists, people, are biased. Would you trust somebody who doesn't have a Christian worldview to correctly expound upon the nature of science? Let's say that this person even had a fancy title and is on the news a lot. Let's say the chief medical advisor to the President of the United States. Well, this person claims that attacks on him are actually attacks on science. I disagree. People can make mistakes. Oh, by the way, you saw the latest from the chief medical advisor to the president, right? Not only does he want you to wear your mask over your nose and mouth, he also wants you to wear a mask over your eyes so you can't see his email messages. Scientists are biased. True science is a gift from God. Science reveals that there is a God, that there is a creator. But of course, only Scripture can reveal who that true God is. Johann Kepler, one of my favorite scientists of all time. Johann Kepler was a Lutheran committed Christian. Kepler was the person who really formulated the heliocentric view of the solar system. The fact that the sun is at the center and the planets revolve around it. He put that all together correctly. Copernicus didn't quite do it right. But Kepler's famous quip is, science is thinking God's thoughts after him. Science is really a gift of God. But what we have to understand is there's both true and false science, depending upon the worldview and the starting biases of the scientists involved. One of my mentors at Concordia University, Wisconsin, was the Reverend Dr. John Saleska. Dr. John Saleska loved to use stanzas of a hymn as an opening prayer. So to kick off our conference, I'm sorry I won't sing to you, but I'd just like to go through two stanzas of this hymn with you as kind of setting the stage for what we're going to be doing throughout the day. Immortal, invisible, God only wise, in light inaccessible, hid from our eyes, most blessed, most glorious, O Ancient of Days, Almighty, victorious, your great name we praise. All life you engender in great and in small. To all life befriender, the true life of all. We blossom and flourish in richness and range. We wither and perish, but you never change. Amen. So, without much further ado, I am going to check out here for just a minute. It'll take me about 5 minutes to change things over and get the next slideshow. So at 9:30, we're going to begin again. Thanks for being here.